much, Dr. Kolokathis. As said before, I'm Varlamos, member of Attikon Cath Lab Hospital. I'm very proud to be with you today. And my today's presentation is about what we can do to guide and optimize our stent results. Imaging helps us in the pre-assessment, aka stent planning, and in the post-assessment of our PCI stent optimization. And we know all that with coronary angiogram, we can't get enough information. Imaging comes and maybe overcomes the limitations we have with coronary angiogram, such as the true dimensions of the vessel, such as plaque morphology or suboptimal PCI results. And the impact we have with imaging is huge. As you see, a standardized OCT algorithm can change the operator's mind, the decision-making, or 80% of the lesions in the pre-assessment and 30% of the lesions in the post-assessment. And we all know that imaging can guide us to better results and better outcomes for our patient, and that for a lot of randomized trials. But the answer is to use the imaging right, not just use the imaging. There are some criteria that we have to fulfill to get the best result of our PCI, such as the MSA, a good MSA, such as no stent, edge stent dissections, or malapposition. And there are simple algorithms that we can follow. Even the inexperienced operators can follow them with basic steps and do the better for the patient. This is an algorithm, MLD Max. MLD refers to the pre-assessment, so M for morphology, for plaque morphology, L for the lesion length, and D for diameter measurements. And Max refers to the post-assessment of our PCI with M for medial dissection, A for apposition, and X for expansion. And of course, IVUS or OCT can give us information about the plaque morphology. Okay, OCT has better resolution, we all know that. But we can differentiate the soft lipidic plaque to a fibrotic plaque or even a calcified plaque. And if we talk about calcium, it's really important to know if it's a deep calcium or a superficial calcium or eccentric calcium, because then we will choose the right tools, the right calcium modifiers to proceed with our PCI. Of course, we all know calcified nodule. It's not good. We want to avoid it sometimes, but we can find it with imaging and be prepared of. After the plaque morphology session, we have to do the measurements. It's obvious. We have to pick our proximal and distal landing zones. And with imaging, that's very easy. We have the longitudinal view. We can pick our lesion length and do prepared of. Of course, we all know that we don't want a plaque burden over 50% to our landing zones, and afterwards we have to pick the diameters. So with picking the diameters, we know what the diameters of our balloons and stents we will use. So stent sizing. Mainly, we stent sizing mainly with the distal part of the vessel, of course, and we can do or a vessel-based approach or a lumen-based approach. A vessel-based approach, it's more common, a little bit more aggressive, but we have to use a lumen-based approach if we have a lot of plaque burden and if it's not obvious how much big is the vessel. So we finished with we put our stents, and then we have to check our result. Three steps, again, basic steps. First of all, we have to find the stent edges. We have to check if we have a geographical miss, if we have a lot of plaque burden, over 50%, that's a problem. And we have to check if we have a stent and stent dissection, meaning a dissection involving the media over 3 millimeters in length. When we see this, maybe we have to put another stent, especially when we're talking about distal part of the vessel, because we are aware of prolongation of the dissection. Then we have to check for malapposition. That's easy. That's not a big problem. We have to check to not to have a big distance over 0.4 from our stent struts from the vessel wall. And then, of course, we have to check our expansion. We don't want under-expanded stents. That's a major problem, especially in small vessels. So we have some values. We have an absolute value, an MSA. We want an MSA over 5 or 5.5, but we know the disadvantages of the MSA because not every vessel is the same. So we can use a relative value for expansion, like a ratio of MSA/average reference lumen, which in trials, or maybe the perfect is to have 90% of stent expansion, but we all know in real life, if we have 75 or 80% of stent expansion, it's really fair, and we have a good result. So that's some examples for post-PCI assessment. It's all of you are knowledge of this. Talked before for this: stent under expansion, stent malapposition, tissue protrusion, dissection. We check and we optimize our results. And a fast example for our hospital: 2 days ago, we proceeded with PCI to this patient, 5-year-old male with unstable angina. As you see, there is a proximal lesion on LAD, a long lesion, a bifurcation with branches of diagonal branches, and the true question is how back we're going to go on the left main. So the solution here is imaging, of course. Strongly believe that this patient needs imaging to proceed. So we did an IVUS. You see now the plug from the distal to the proximal on the left screen, and on the right screen we find our landing zones, measure the diameters, be prepared of what we can do. The plug morphology is soft, it's fibrotic, there is not much calcium, so we can use basic tools. And of course, we did get the answer that we have a proximal landing zone exactly at the ostium of LAD with a 40% black burden, and we're happy with this because we don't want to mix to mess with a left main to this patient. So we proceed with a semi-compliant balloon 3, put a Sincero Pro stent with a distal 3.33, sorry. And then an NC balloon distally and proximally with a 4. And then we did an IVUS again, and we are happy with our result. Proximal landing zone is exactly what we need to do. A little bit of struts protruding in the left main, not so much to cause a problem, and distal landing zone is perfect. The MSA here is 5.2, as you see, but it's a good stent expansion regarding the distal reference of the vessel. If I don't have the IVUS, if I didn't have the IVUS, I wouldn't do anything more. But I did the IVUS and I put a 5 balloon proximally to the stent and a 3.5 balloon distally to optimize my results. And this is the angiogram with a very good result, I think. Thank you very much for your attention.
For this excellent presentation. You show us how, in this case, how we can use the IVUS to have a better result and to plan our procedure better. I think that the main issue when we need IVUS is the calcium. In these cases where there's burden, lot of calcium, I think that it's very important to plan the procedure and to choose the tools. Sometimes you should modify the plaque using all these tools we have. I also like to remark that in this case, there isn't, the calcium isn't the problem, but finally, you show us that we can improve the stent expansion, and we can choose the position to put the stent.
To land it.
That's why I think that in many cases, except the calcium, the IVUS is very helpful for our procedure.
Of course.
Are there any comments or, of course.
Thank you for the case. Can I ask, so I'm Tom Keeble, a cardiologist from Essex in the UK. Can I ask, please, what sort of result you got from your balloon pre-dilatation? Because for me nowadays, if I get a great result with balloon pre-dilatation in the ostium of the LAD, I do consider DCBs. I know that the data is not fully aware, but it avoids this conundrum of coming back to left main or not, trying to land at the ostium, which you never hit, ever. No matter how good you are, yes. You never, ever hit it. And I think you said there were struts in the left main in the end, is that right?
Yes.
So
a little bit,
one wonders, actually, you would have just been better coming back to left main and potting and being done. And that's certainly my practice now, because I've missed the ostium so many times, and I don't bother. And so I say, if I get a great balloon result, and then I bring them back at 6 months and have a look and make sure, because it's such an important area, proximal AD left main, you cannot leave that to chance. And so I just wonder that simplification may come in time, that if you, on imaging, you can almost certainly get away with ballooning. You get a great balloon result, maybe you use some cutting or a scoring balloon, get a fantastic balloon result, DCB, and then you could even do a CT and check it all looks great at 6 months. So I think there are changes for me, or you just stent back to left main, which is certainly my way of doing things now, because I've done this too many times, and I think you have the worst of all worlds, because if you've got to get back into that circ now, it's going to be a disaster. That's your problem.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your comment. Of course, I have to admit, I didn't do IVUS when I pre-dilatate and after. So I did IVUS pre and post. I was dedicated to put a stent exactly at the ostium. That was my planning. So, but I accept, of course, different operators would do different things. I understand exactly what you are talking about. To have a good result with pre-dilatation or DCB there in the ostium, avoid it and landing it after. It would be an option. I didn't for it, okay? But I think the result, it wasn't... I didn't give so much attention to this to show you this. It was, I just didn't miss the ostium. I just didn't miss the ostium with the struts. So I don't know if it will be a problem for the patient. I won't know. I will learn in the future. But I think it's a plan that you can do. Of course, I understand and appreciate the opinion you gave. But I think with my decision, our team decision, because Yosif was on the console and etc., we have the result we aim to. So it's important to have the result you aim to and see what's going on after. But I appreciate that, yes, it's an option. It's a very good option. Thank you.
We are very intrigued by your proposal, how to avoid a two-stent and how to get a different result by using DCB. But you know that when you are watching to the consensus documents for the DCB, the term to get an optimal results are moving from acceptable, suboptimal. What is acceptable? Is the lumen size? Is the presence of dissection of the media that is anticipated, the non-recurrence? So imaging until now with DCB was marginally used. The same was with the physiology, unfortunately. And that is a crucial point to get information in what is optimal and when you can say, okay, I got imaging or I got physiology, that is enough predicting of a good results. I can avoid a two-stent. Until now with an angel, it perhaps are done in a single view, not in orthogonal view, is going to be very difficult.
Thank you.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So we move back to